Breakout running backs right now on Fantasy Football Today, presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. We've got names in rounds 1 through maybe 9 or 10, all the way from Ashton Jeanty to Jordan Mason, I would guess is the Tank Bigsby would be the last name on the list if you're just looking at average draft position. Welcome back to Fantasy Football Today. Adam Azer, Dave Richard, Heath Cummings, and JJ Zachariason is here to talk running backs. Are you happy with the position you got? You got one of the glamour positions. Good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this is the position that is the driving force in fantasy football. So yeah, I feel good about it.
I feel like wide receiver has overtaken running back.
It probably is. Yeah, I'm trying to feel better about myself.
Wide receiver made a really strong push, probably still does in the best ball world and in industry talk. But I think JJ's right. Running back still drives fantasy football.
Yeah, and CBS drafts are getting very running back heavy at the top, maybe more so not necessarily the first 2 rounds, but after that. Before we go any further, JJ, why don't you just tell us, how our audience can follow you and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at LateRoundQB, lateround.com. You can find all my stuff. I have a draft guide out there right now. It's pretty game theory driven. It's not just total player takes and analysis. And then I have my podcast, the Late Round Fantasy Football Podcast.
Awesome. All right. So Dave gave me, everybody's got a list, but the first 2 names on the list at running back that I wanted to talk about were Chase Brown and Bucky Irving. I almost feel like what could go wrong for these guys, but sometimes things go wrong with these unproven players who are day 3 picks. So Dave, why are you so convinced that Chase Brown and Bucky Irving are going to break out and basically do for a full season what they did for a half season?
Right. And that's the whole point, is that there were portions, certainly in the early part of last year, where neither guy was really great for fantasy. And then they got their opportunities and they took off. So if you were alive and awake in 2024, you already know what these guys can do. And it's just a matter of whether or not they can keep it going over the span of 18 weeks, 17 games. Just to lay it out there, from week 6 through 17, Chase Brown, 18 PPR points per game, 21.1 touches per game. If you want that to be even better looking, from week 9 through week 17, he played 80+% of the snaps in every game, 23.6 touches per game, 20.6 PPR points, even 15.9 non-PPR points for Chase Brown. I don't think there's going to be a lot of competition for touches in that backfield. He will lose some work to Pirine on 3rd downs, but this is an awesome Bengals offense. He's probably never going to see 8 in the box because of the receivers that they have. I think he's a good pick in round 2, much less round 3. Bucky, we know it from last year, from week 6 on, 12 games, 16.9 PPR points per game. He had 18.1, making that number look better, in his final 8 games, including the postseason. Only 3 games all year where he played at least 60% of the snaps. And so an argument that I was making earlier in the offseason was that Bucky has more room to develop and put up better numbers because he can earn more playing time. But it does sound like Tampa wants to use as many as 3 running backs. I watched them practice. Bucky was getting a lot of work with the ones, as you would expect, and he was catching, short passes from Baker. He looks great too. These are both running backs I'm totally fine taking in the 2nd round. If you get them in the 3rd round, I feel like you're stealing a little bit from your league.
Does anyone have an issue with Bucky Irving or Chase Brown in round 2?
Let's move on.
I've got Brown at 25th, but no issue really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in on Chase Brown over Jonathan Taylor this year. Like in a full PPR type environment where if Anthony Richardson's starting, for JT, and last season with Anthony Richardson, he had a 5% target share per game. There is not that receiving upside like we have with Chase Brown. And there's already been chatter out of Cincinnati saying that they want to use Chase Brown more, even more as a receiver this year and as sort of a safety valve for Joe Burrow. And we know how weak that offensive line is, which sure could go badly for the run game, but at the same time, it could allow for some more dump offs and some more receiving work for Brown.
What format are you taking Chase Brown over Jonathan Taylor?
I'd take him over him in both half and full. Realistically, I mean, again, like obviously Jonathan Taylor has that single game upside. I think though, from a week to week standpoint and just from that floor perspective, I'm just going to feel better about the Cincinnati offense. And yes, Jonathan Taylor is a better pure runner. There's no doubt. I just don't know if we're going to see that receiving work for him. Not only that, they added Tyler Warren to the mix this year. There's even more competition for targets out of that on that team. So it's tough for me to really click that button, over Chase.
No, I'm worried that I'm getting too excited about Chase Brown because I think back in February we started doing mock drafts and I was thinking Chase Brown, felt like maybe even a first round pick for me. I was so excited about him. Then, I cooled down, but they did nothing in the NFL draft really. Okay, they got Taj Brooks. I don't think that's really a huge deal. But then you got their offensive coordinator, Dan Pitcher, saying he's going to become a household name. And I'm just starting to think that Chase Brown should go like right after Derrick Henry in the early part of the second round, right where Puka Nacua, right? Well, maybe Puka, but Nico Collins and Brian Thomas Jr. I'm thinking I should take him ahead of AJ Brown at this point. He's the best Brown, last name wise, or team.
What about Amon-Ra?
No, it's a St. Brown. No, you know what? Honestly, that's how I feel about Chase Brown. I feel like he's in that mix with those guys. But am I crazy? Am I too excited?
No. I don't think it's insane. No, I mean, I would still be going for, like, I still think like the Nikos of the world and the Drake Londons of the world have wide receiver 1 overall this season upside. And so I'd rather go that direction. But, once you start getting out of that tier, I think it's more than reasonable to go after Chase.
If I was going to be and I'm not anti-Chase Brown, I've got him 25th. And so I think he's going to be awesome. If I was going to go the negative route, I would just say day 3 pick that kind of at least came out of nowhere last year, and best attribute was plays all the snaps, has all the volume, has been the type of player that has really, really disappointed us in the past. I'm not saying he's going to, but if you're putting together the type of running back that has really disappointed us, that's the guy.
Sure. For the record, definitely taking Nico Collins over Chase Brown. All right, let's see. So we like Chase Brown. We like Bucky Irving. Ken Walker was a guy that Dave said was on his list, but JJ also on your list. Ken Walker, when would you take Ken Walker?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's like right outside the top 12 or maybe even, like in the RB13, RB14 range for me. I love the fit with Clint Kubiak. He's going to bring that outside zone scheme to Seattle. If you look last season, New Orleans ran the second most runs to the outside in that scheme. They ran, at the second highest rate in the league. Kenneth Walker is perfect for this kind of offense where he's a one-cut runner. He can just hit these home runs. And that's exactly what we're going to get a lot of in this offense. The biggest question mark, two things I think are a big deal with Walker. One is obviously health, right? If he can't stay healthy, then we're obviously not going to feel as bullish on him. But the other thing is last season was the first year that we really saw him deployed and used as a receiver in the NFL. And even in college, he wasn't used much as a pass catcher. But last year, he had a 14.4% target share per game rate, which was basically double his other 2 seasons in the NFL. And so you do have to question a little bit if he's going to be able to maintain. I mean, I don't think he's going to be able to maintain that high of a target share. And last season in that Ryan Grubb offense, they were really pass heavy. I mean, it was a very pass friendly scheme from a volume perspective. And so, my sort of pushback, if I were to argue with myself here and say, can Kenneth Walker maintain a high target share? It would be, look at this offense. And, at the end of the day, there is only a 100% target share pie to go around in the offense. And there aren't many established pass catchers in that offense right now. And so there does seem to be a pretty good outlet and lane for him to get that 10, 11, maybe 12% target share if things break right. I don't think we're going to see what we saw last year, but even still, I think he's going to be able to make up for it given this zone scheme that he's going to be running in.
Okay. I think everyone, the 3 of you feel pretty good about Ken Walker in the 3rd round, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm in on him in round 3. And it requires 2 picks if you really want to feel good about it, by getting Charbonnet in round 9 if you wanted to safeguard the pick. And we've seen Charbonnet play very well in place of Kenneth Walker. So you have to at least think about making that commitment. I know that there are some people who wouldn't even touch that idea, but I would do something like that, knowing that Kenneth Walker, A, isn't a lock to make it for 17 games, and B, already has a foot injury that kept him sidelined for a little bit this training camp.
Okay, Heath, we'll dance around a little bit here. We'll go to one of Heath's breakout running backs. So not super familiar with this guy. Ashton Jeanty.
Tell me, not the sleepers episode. Don't give me any grief because he's being drafted too high, because he's not being drafted high enough. I think he fell to round 2 of our draft today. He's a top 7 pick for me. I expect him to immediately enter the NFL as one of the best rushers in the NFL. I've got him projected for about 1,700 total yards and 12 touchdowns. This is going to be a good run offense with Chip Kelly there. Geno Smith actually gives them some threat of the pass, and Ashton Jeanty is very good. If you're worried about 3 rush attempts in the preseason, then you don't deserve Ashton Jeanty. But he is a top 5 running back for me. And if a running back in his very first year in the NFL is a top 5 running back and he's not a breakout, then I don't know what a breakout is.
Wait a sec. Say that again.
If a running back in his very first year in the NFL is a top 5 running back in the NFL, I don't know what a breakout is.
No, I think that'd be fine.
It'd be fine. It'd just be okay.
No, I'm just saying that some people just think that you can't call a rookie a breakout. That's all. I
understand. I am not one of those people.
Trying to find the Leonard Fournette stat. Leonard Fournette really didn't have a very good rookie season. He was fine, and he still was very good for fantasy. And it's almost like that feels like a worst case scenario. I'll see if I can look that up. Hey, real quick, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, we've got an awesome offer for you. Use the bonus code FANTASY on BetMGM, and you're going to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. So here's how it works. You download the BetMGM app, and you sign up using the bonus code FANTASY. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure that you use the bonus code FANTASY when you sign up. So far, we've talked about Chase Brown, Bucky, Irving, Ken Walker, Ashton Jeanty. Let's talk about TreVeyon Henderson, JJ, another rookie who's also on Heat's breakout list. I'm sure Dave is excited about TreVeyon Henderson too, but maybe not. I don't know, maybe not as excited. But JJ, when would you take TreVeyon Henderson? How would you compare him to Ken Walker, who you said is around RB13 or so for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd still take Walker over Henderson. I think if you're in a full PPR format, you're taking Henderson. I mean, you can take him mid RB2 range in that RB18, RB19 spot, around there. I'm super bullish on him as a prospect. I loved him coming out great in pass pro, arguably the best running back in pass pro that we've seen, at least in recent history, come out. And he had unbelievable, he was a great pass catcher at Ohio State as well, obviously playing amongst some very, very good wide receivers there. But as a freshman at Ohio State, he caught 27 passes, which is not a little amount for a collegiate running back, but he caught 27 passes in an offense that had Jackson Smith-Njigba, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Emeka Egbuka. And he was still able to carve out a role and play that pass catching role. We're already seeing him moss defenders in Patriots camp right now. So I think they're going to get, there's going to be wheel routes galore in New England this year. And again, going back to sort of what I talked about with Kenneth Walker, you got to look at the entire landscape of these offenses to see what kind of target share ceiling a player might be able to hit. And the only guy that we feel relatively confident about seeing decent target share in that offense is Stephon Diggs at this point. And he's obviously, older and coming off that ACL. I love Diggs this year, but, obviously there is some concern and there is a red flag there. And so I think that TreVeyon Henderson could realistically walk into not only just that James White role, but a James White role plus in that Josh McDaniels offense. So I'm pretty excited.
Should I take TreVeyon Henderson or two of the guys that he played with, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Garrett Wilson?
I mean, I'm pretty low on both of the wide receivers. So, I mean, I think, if you're in a 3 wide, it depends on the format, obviously. If you're in a 3 wide receiver, full PPR, flex kind of league, I probably would still lean the wide receivers. But those are 2 wide receivers that I am incredibly nervous about entering 2025. So I think that you could, if we sat here for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I could argue both sides. I could argue that TreVeyon side.
I would say TreVeyon, and I think the better question might be whose route tree is more diverse this year, TreVeyon Henderson or Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, there we go.
And I think the answer would be TreVeyon Henderson. It's imagine everybody remembers the James White 90 target seasons, 90 catch seasons. Now imagine if he was the most explosive player on the offense also. It's so rare that we get a guy that has a really high volume role in the passing game out of the backfield. And he's extremely explosive, and there's opportunity for him as the season goes on to earn work on early downs. I mean, I only have him projected for 10 carries a game right now, but Ramondre Stevenson does not do the 2 things that keep veterans on the field over exciting rookies. He does not protect the football. He does not pass protect. TreVeyon Henderson, I continually feel like I'm too low.
Yeah.
Same, which is making me nervous because I see some issues that keep me from like raising him into like the top 40, because JJ is absolutely right. The talent is undeniable. We saw it at Ohio State. We're seeing it now in training camp. I saw it in training camp. He's a very good player. Did you know he had no fumbles at Ohio State? That was cool. I'll play devil's advocate. Ohio State used Henderson 5 times on carries inside the 5-yard line last year, 7 times total in his last 3 years at Ohio State. He got banged up his second to last year there, and then they brought in Quinshon Judkins. We know that those two split reps. He's also not the type of back that Josh McDaniels has used in his offense as the primary ball carrier. Usually that guy is sitting around 220 pounds. Guy's physical. I know that Henderson is willing to get physical, but he's much lighter than 220 pounds. Also, Josh McDaniels' track record of using multiple running backs is pretty consistent. Only 3 times, and I'm reading this, in his 17 full seasons as a play caller, 3 times has a running back averaged 20-plus touches per game. Only 10 times has a running back averaged 15-plus touches per game. Could we buy into Henderson being so good that Josh McDaniels takes everything that he's ever done and throws it out the window and just puts it all on Henderson's plate?
Yes, because he did it with Josh Jacobs just a few years ago when he finally had a true
220-pound back.
That I get, but the point is he gave the most talented guy on the route. He didn't mess around. Go ahead, Heath.
I just don't think that probably prevents him from being the number 1 running back in fantasy football this year. But in terms of him turning in a top 12 season, I don't think it matters at all. He is exactly the type of player in full PPR that produces top 12 seasons without touching the ball 15 times a game.
I got to take a break. I'm going to follow up. We're going to finish on TreVeyon Henderson in a moment. Let's take a quick break on FFT and wrap this discussion up, because I want to know, where do you take him in half PPR? And are we getting too early if we start taking him in the 3rd round? We'll be right back.
They want to take this place from us. My family is in danger. My wife is lost to me, and I don't have time.
1923, new season now streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus.
Heath, you are Jesse Spano excited about TreVeyon Henderson. So I even have to laugh at that. That was a good joke. So what about in half? What you said? It was really good. So what about half PPR?
I think half PPR, you probably need to cool the Jets a little bit and take him in round 5, where I think he's currently going in full PPR, but I've got him early round 4 in full PPR. I'll go round 5.5.
Okay. It would be interesting if he had a better season than everybody that JJ mentioned on his Ohio State team. JSN, Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison Jr., Mecca Buka. He's gonna be better than at least some of them, but
JSN's the only one I would draft first before him.
Heath, do you have your projections open for TreVeyon?
Mm-hmm.
I can say this too about TreVeyon and sort of the workload stuff. If you look since 2011, there's been 43 running backs. And I was actually talking about this about Breece Hall. If I'm not like massively high on Hall, but this is sort of the pro math argument for the pass catching side of Breece Hall. But it's even easier with TreVeyon, I think. But since 2011, there's been 43 running backs who played 8 or more games who had a 15% target share per game or better, and a 50% running back rush share or better. So just half the team's running back rushes, right? Of those 43, none of them finished worse than RB18 in PPR points per game, and only 2 of them finished outside the top 12. So if TreVeyon Henderson ends up seeing about half the team's running back rushes, which I don't think is a lock, because obviously Ramondre is going to see some of that early down work. I mean, the floor ceiling combo is pretty incredible here.
Excellent stuff. All right, few more. Dave, give me rapid fire on Tank Bigsby and Jordan Mason.
These are just mid-round flyers that you can take. 2 guys that could end up being the lead backs in their respective offenses. We know that Tank Bigsby's efficiency was outstanding last year. Everyone's freaking out because Travis Etienne took all the first team snaps in their first preseason game. Even if that changes, I think we're going to see a full-blown committee anyway, with Bigsby the most likely one to work rushing downs and to work at the goal line. I do not think he can even catch 20% of the passes that TreVeyon Henderson is about to catch this year, but we're drafting this guy 5 rounds later. I think that we could absolutely see in the neighborhood of, I don't know, I'll temper it and say 850 yards and 7 touchdowns. This is a really good Jacksonville offense. At least it looks good on paper. I would want to have the running back that could be playing the most on the ground and not seeing 8 in the box. Mason, the younger running back in Minnesota, another team with a pretty good offensive line and some pretty good wide receivers as well. And he's the one who seems to be in line to work at the goal line more so than Aaron Jones. They want to take work off of Aaron Jones' plate. These are running backs I'm targeting in the middle rounds, not to start for my fantasy team, at least not to begin the year, but they could be starting for my fantasy team at some point during the year. I'd love to have them on my bench.
Heath, we on the Bus Show on Wednesday, we talked about DeAndre Swift, but give me your 30-second take on why DeAndre Swift's a breakout.
He was RB15 the last time he was at Ben Johnson, and he was sharing with Jamal Williams, who Dan Campbell absolutely loved. I don't think anybody absolutely loves Roschon Johnson or Kyle Monangai. This will be an improved Bears offense, and Swift will catch 4+ balls per game, and he has a chance to be a top 12 running back for the first time ever.
I want to finish on Jaylen Warren for JJ, and that's somebody that Jamie has been taking a lot. I just said the letter J a lot there, but Jamie's excited about Jaylen Warren, so you're even more excited. What are you looking for Warren in this breakout season?
Yeah, look, I didn't mind Caleb Johnson as a prospect. I'm not one of those people that just, is pushing him aside and saying that he's a nobody. But I do look at history, and if you look at 3rd round running backs since 2011, 40 running backs have been drafted after round 2 and through pick 100. So basically 3rd round picks. Of those 40, only 4 of them had a 60% running back rush share as a rookie, and only 8 of them had a 50% running back rush share or better as a rookie. And then the other thing that I feel like has just been kind of tossed aside, Arthur Smith had this guy named Bijan Robinson as a rookie, and he was not giving him a full bell cow workload as a rookie, splitting with Tyler Algier, as we recall. So I do have some fear in the back of my mind that we're going to see something similar to what we saw, with Bijan Robinson when he was a rookie. Warren has been a high target share guy throughout his career, 12%, 15% target share over the last 2 years. That's something that we always want out of our running backs. It's one of the big differentiators out of middle round running backs. Dealt with some injuries last year, but he's always been an efficient back. And he's also been a back who's really good in pass pro. And look who's under center now is Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to put up with bad pass pro reps from a rookie running back. So I know that this is like the 3rd or 4th. I mean, it seems like we've been doing this with Jaylen Warren year after year after year, but I do think that there's a lot of logic here to point to Warren, at least if you go with maybe a hero running back build or even a 0 RB build, you're going to get some production from him at least to start the season before Caleb Johnson really gets immersed in this offense.
I was going to ask you to rank 3 running backs, and I see they're back to back to back in our consensus rankings, but I'll let all 3 of you rank these 3 running backs, and then we'll end the show. Tyrone Tracy Jr., Jaylen Warren, Caleb Johnson. JJ, you can start.
I'll go Warren, Tracy, Johnson.
Dave.
Johnson, Tracy, Warren.
Heath.
Tracy, Warren, Johnson.
Okay.
There's some great consensus there.
Yeah. Anybody feeling a Tyrone Tracy breakout?
I'll say so I do a lot of ADP analysis, right? And looking at historical ADP and seeing what trends we can find and stuff. And when you have these ambiguous backfields, which is what the Giants have right now, these multiple middle round running backs who are, getting drafted close to each other. Typically the biggest breakouts we find are 2nd-year running backs who are pass catchers. And we would probably lean Tyrone Tracy, as Cam Scadaboo can do a lot, but we would lean Tyrone Tracy there. Now Scadaboo's a little bit banged up. So I'm kind of into Tracy at this moment. It sounds like he's doing pretty well in camp too.
It was great. It was a very encouraging first drive, obviously playing without Scadaboo, but a lot of usage and had some good moments last year for sure. All right, JJ, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Running backs, they're the real glamour position. Get out of here, wide receivers. All right, we'll talk wide receivers later with Chris Harris. We'll talk tight ends as well, and we'll talk to you then. See you later, everybody.